Hi Post-16 and welcome to this week's briefing. Coming to you from my home, to you safely in your home. But as you know, this week's briefing is all about our ability to start getting you back out of your home and back into school, so not for much longer. I posted a little bit about this on our community classroom this week. With a message that Miss Collins had emailed to each of you to follow up the letters that she had sent to your parents about how we're going to be able to get you some face-to-face contact with your teachers between now and the summer holiday, so over the last month of the school year. So between looking at the detail that's on the post on the Google Classroom and watching this briefing today, hopefully you will feel secure in coming back to school starting from Monday the 15th of June. That's why our focus this week on our parade standards is on attendance, because after a lot of very careful planning at school, we have been able to come up with a way that we think is going to give you a chance to be able to see all of your teachers, to be able to get some face-to-face contact with them before you break up for the summer holiday. And we believe it's a way that we can do it that keeps you as safe as possible as well. So this week you and your parents have been sent a letter from Mrs. Collins that explains how it's going to work, you being back in school from the 15th of June. You've been sent a timetable that shows you what day and what time each subject is going to be running its face-to-face lessons. That also tells you what room those lessons are going to be in. And it tells you what time to arrive at school for that lesson. And you've also been sent a supplement to the Home Academy Agreement. Each of you signed a Home Academy Agreement when you started in Post-16. We've had to adapt our Home Academy Agreement obviously in line with the fact that we now have extra regulations that we have to expect students to abide by with regards to COVID-19 and keeping you and everybody else in the building safe while you're there. It is entirely up to you and your parents whether you choose to come back into school for those lessons. No one is going to force you. And you won't be penalised if you don't come into school. It will be marked as you still being attending off-site as your attendance has been done since the school closed. It's down to you and your parents to make a judgment together about whether you feel it's safe to return to school and whether you're happy with the safety measures that we have put into place in the building. And it's some of those that I'm going to talk you through in this briefing. Whether or not you choose to come to school next week, it is really, really important that you carry on engaging with remote learning at home. The government guidance was very clear on this, that face-to-face contact with teachers for Year 12 before the summer holiday could only be used to supplement remote learning. It was not going to take the place of remote learning. So all of your teachers, whether you come into school for those sessions or not, are still going to be setting you work through their Google Classrooms and expecting you to engage with it and complete it at home. If you have found that you have fallen behind on that work, you do still have another month before the summer holiday to throw lots of effort at it and get caught up. Just remember that teachers have been working incredibly hard during the lockdown. Our working days haven't really changed while you've not been in school, and so teachers will be taking a bit of a break over the summer holiday. So if you want to get feedback from your teachers, particularly if you're on a bit of a scramble to get caught up with work, it needs to happen in the next month so that you can then not be bothering teachers over their very well-deserved break in the summer. So the first question that lots of you will have will be around what to wear and what to bring with you. The government guidance makes it really clear that if you are coming out into a public setting like a school, that you should wear clothing that can easily be washed, because the government recommendation is that whatever you wear on that day that you are out of your home, that you should wash that night. So therefore we don't expect you to come wearing business dress. You need to come wearing loose, comfortable clothing that can easily be washed. Particularly if you're planning on wearing the same thing for more than one day during the course of a school week. So for example, if you decide you're going to wear some kind of track pants or joggers, then those are really easy to wash and get dry by the next day because the material is quite thin. The only thing that you don't need to worry about washing straight away when you get home, obviously, is your shoes. But when it comes to your shoes, the same rules apply as always apply. You can't wear sliders, you can't wear sandals with open toes. They've got to be shoes that encase your feet. So I suspect that that probably means wear trainers. In terms of equipment to bring with you, if you've got your own laptop or Chromebook or iPad at home there and you think it will help you to have that in school so that you can access digital resources during those lessons, bring it in with you. We will not have devices to lend while you're in school. We're not allowed to under the government guidance because of cross-contamination. If you haven't got your own laptop or Chromebook but want to access digital resources in those lessons and you've got your phone, then you will be allowed to use your phone to access those resources. The building is going to look very different when you arrive on Monday. The site team have worked really hard to make the changes that are required for us to meet the government guidance on making schools safe. So for example, the first thing that you will notice when you arrive outside the building, this is right outside the front door, there's the main path that goes up to Green Street, Green Road. You will see that the site team have put down markers, and the line at the front here is where the queue to come into the building needs to form up, and you will see behind it at 2 metre intervals crosses have been taped on the floor so that you know where to stand. Just like if you were queuing up to go into a supermarket. I'm sure lots of you have done that during the period of the lockdown. It's really important that when you're queuing up, even though you might be tempted to rush over and see your friends who you've not seen during the length of the lockdown, that you resist that urge to go and give them a hug and that you just line up with a 2 metre spacing between you. That's to keep you safe and to keep all of us safe in the building. When you get through the front door, you will see some changes in reception, in as much as we've put some extra measures in place to keep the reception staff safe, to make sure that there is a 2 metre distance between them and anyone coming in the building. And you will see that there is a hand sanitizer just as you come in the front door. Now, what we are asking all students to do as they come in the building is to wash your hands. So there is a small bathroom just there at the back of reception where you can go in, you can wash your hands for the regulation 20 seconds, and then we would advise you, as you then come back past it, to sanitise your hands. You will see hand sanitisers have been placed strategically all through the building so that you are able to sanitise your hands throughout the time that you are in school for lessons. If you're arriving in the morning for a lesson, what's going to happen is that your class teacher will be there to meet you when you are lining up outside the school, and they will take you in a group. You have to keep 2 metres apart when you're moving through the building in that group, and they will take you to your assigned set of toilets, and they will supervise you going in one at a time to wash your hands for the start of the day. And then when you get to the classroom that you're using with that teacher, there will be a big bottle of hand sanitizer in there, and you can all sanitize your hands as you go into the classroom. All through the building, I took this photograph right outside the study centre, but these markers on the floor go right the way through the building. They go right the way up the main corridor, they go round through the winter gardens, and even when you get to the stairs, there are lines now that demarcate between the going up and the coming down side of the stairs, with markers there to show you how to keep 2 metres apart from one another. And it is really important that you always maintain that 2 metre distance between you and anybody else when you are in the building. It will be an absolute requirement that you do that. To reinforce that message all through the building, there are lots of signs that have now gone up to constantly remind you to keep your safe distance from one another. There is a one-way system in the building from Monday the 15th of June. And essentially what it means is that when you come in through reception, you've got the big long main corridor that curves away around in front of you. The only direction you're allowed to travel in that corridor is from reception towards the restaurant. You're not allowed to walk up that corridor coming back the other way because it's just not wide enough in places to keep people at a safe distance from one another. So there is a one-way system. You can walk that way through the building, but if you want to then come back, you then have to go outside and into the quad. So when you arrive in the morning, you'll come in through reception and you'll walk up the main corridor to get to the room that you're going to be based in for your lesson. But when you leave by going out into the quad, and you will leave via the gate that's next to the sports hall. So that we keep that one-way system in place. As you see, there are signs there to remind you about which direction to go in. And it's particularly important, for example, here in the Winter Gardens, this is the Brunel da Vinci Winter Garden. If you want to go upstairs to a room in Brunel and da Vinci, you've got to turn right here. You can't go round the Winter Garden and go the other way, because people coming down the stairs are going to be directed to be coming around the other side of the Winter Garden. So it's really important that you follow the signs. They're on the floor, they're on devices that we've put up to show the signs, and they're stuck up on the windows and the walls right the way through the building to remind you. There are certain classrooms that you will be able to go in and other classrooms that you will not be able to go in. So all of the lessons that are being run, unless they're in a specialist teaching room, like an art room or a DT workshop, they're all the big classrooms that we've got that we're able to open up the partition wall and create a giant size classroom. Now those classrooms have been set up. The tables have to remain exactly where they are because that ensures that there's a 2 metre distance between everybody in there. So you will be very spread out in those big classrooms. It is really important that you go to one desk and that you stay at that one desk for the whole of the time that you are in that classroom. You can't get up and wander around the room. You can't go over and chat to your friends. You go in, you sit down and you stay at that desk. There are other rooms in the school that have these signs on them that tell you that you can't go into that classroom. Those rooms have been deep cleaned during the lockdown, and we are aiming to keep them clean until such a time as the whole of the building is able to reopen for all students. Remember, it's only Year 10 and Year 12 that are coming back to school from the 15th of June. Year 7, 8 and 9 are still not able to come back to school, so we need to keep those rooms clean for when they come back. So do not go into any room other than the room that you've been assigned for that particular lesson, and that is on the timetable that has been sent to you. Now some of you are going to be coming in on a Wednesday. What we've done is we have done one block of subjects per day. So if you've got lessons in Block D, you come in on a Tuesday, for example. However, there are quite a large number of students who all study subjects like business, finance and ICT. And so we've created an extra day on a Wednesday, and those lessons will be happening outside of the block, and you'll be coming in on a Wednesday. And the reason you've been invited in on a Wednesday is because that way you can maybe get 2 lessons done in one go, so that it reduces the number of times that you have to make the journey into school to keep you safe. If you are in on a Wednesday, it is likely that you have got 2 lessons, for example. We've done the order of those lessons so that you'd be in for adjacent lessons with a short break in between. Or it might be that you're in for the middle lesson, and then there's lunch, and then there's the last lesson in the afternoon. That means that on a Wednesday you will have a break or a lunch. Now they are going to be very, very different from the ways that breaks and lunches have felt in the past. They're shorter, you can't go off site to buy food or drink, so you've got to bring your own snacks, your own drinks, and enough to keep you going for the whole time you're in school in with you. The restaurant isn't open. The water fountains have been turned off. That's a public health requirement. So the only place to be able to get water is at break or lunch. You'd be able to go to the restaurant and there will be a member of staff there who will pour you a jug of tap water. But you can't do that yourself. It's got to be done by a member of staff to make sure that we can keep the possibility of transmission of COVID-19 down to the lowest possible rate that we can. So you must bring food or drink that you want to consume yourself, because there will be no other means of providing it for you once you're in the building. That is true for staff as well as it is for students. We have all got to bring our own food and drink with us because there is nowhere else to get that inside the building from Monday the 15th of June. Break times and lunch times will be very carefully supervised by teaching staff, but the expectation on you, Year 12, is that you will keep 2 metres distance between you and your classmates, even at break and lunch time. The responsibility is yours to keep that distance there. The two key things that are going to make this work for you next week are, number one, wash or sanitise your hands as often as you can throughout the time that you're in the building. That has been the government guidance since lockdown was introduced. Hand washing is the most important thing that we can do. And the second most important thing we can do is to keep the safe 2 metre distance between us and everybody else. So even when you're walking through the corridor, even when you're going up a set of stairs, once you're in a classroom, when you're walking across the quad to leave, once you've finished at the end of the day, or when you're making your journey into school at the start of the day, keep your 2 metre distance from everybody. Don't be tempted to meet up in a big group and all arrive at school together, where you're all bundled up together, because you won't be able to maintain social distancing. And that will mean that all of the things that we're putting in place in school to keep you safe will be in vain, because you'll have done all that mixing before you even get in the building. Lots of you will be wondering whether or not you should wear a face covering when you come back to school. So, it's in the letters that have gone home to you from Mrs. Collins, but it will be your choice whether or not to wear a face covering when you are coming into school. Some teachers will choose to wear them, some teachers will choose not to. Some of you will choose to wear them, some of you will not. There is no requirement for you to wear one. We believe that you'll be safe in the building with the measures that we've put in place if you're not wearing a face covering. But if you feel safer, then wear one. However, if you're going to wear a face covering, you need to wear it following public health guidance. So you need to not be fiddling with it. You need to not take it off and put it back on during the day. You need to keep it so that it's covering your nose and your mouth, and then you leave it there. Otherwise, it does absolutely no good to you whatsoever. Exactly the same with gloves. If you've worn a set of protective gloves on your journey to school, you have picked up, if there are germs to be picked up there, you've picked them up on your journey to school. There would then be no point wearing them inside the building, because you're just bringing those germs into the building with you. Every time you pick up a pen, you're putting germs onto that pen. Every time you touch a desk surface, you're leaving the germs from those gloves on the desk. So if you're going to wear a face covering or you're going to wear protective gloves, you must make sure that you follow public health guidance, otherwise there is absolutely no point. If you are travelling to and from school via public transport, then from Monday the 15th of June, it is a legal requirement for you to wear a face covering on public transport. So if you get a train or if you get a bus to school, you must have a face covering. It doesn't have to be a medical grade surgical mask. It could be a non-medical grade medical face covering. It could be a scarf that you pull up, or it could be, if you look at the posts that I put on the Google Classroom, it could just be that you take a square of material and you fold it up with elastic bands and you attach it around your face in that way. But it's a legal requirement on public transport that you wear it. Now, that links to some of the other practical issues that you need to think about for coming back to school. If you are travelling on public transport, you need to recognise that the bus companies are running a reduced service. So they are running fewer buses than they normally do, even at peak times of the day. Something else to consider is that they have introduced greatly reduced limits on the number of passengers that they will carry on their buses. So if you are coming into school in competition with other people trying to use public transport, you may need to allow longer for your journey, because it might be, for example, the first 2 buses that come along, and they might come along less regularly, there might not be room for the bus driver to let you get on that bus. So you need to plan your journey carefully. And remember, you wear a face covering. When you get to school, you are going to have access to toilets, but there is one designated set of toilets for each classroom in the building. So if you are using a classroom on the top floor of Chaucer, for example, the only toilet in the building that you're allowed to use is the one that is attached to that classroom on the top floor of Chaucer. You're able to go out and go to the toilet during a lesson if you need to, but remember, you then must wash your hands for the required 20 seconds afterwards. And you will see outside the doors to each toilet facility in the building, there are taped off boxes outside the doors now to remind you that it's one person in, one person out, and that you have to be able to stand to maintain 2 meters distance for when the person is coming out the toilet before you go in. So you must use those toilets responsibly. And then a very important one, if the fire alarm goes off when you are in school from Monday the 15th of June, the only people that are going to be in school are going to be people in the classes that are running at any one time. So if the fire alarm goes off normally, you go to your designated line-up spot and then you line up with your tutor group. From Monday the 15th, everybody in Post-16, so all of the teachers and the students from Year 12 that are in, we all go to the first goals pitch. So that's the pitch right next to the goals building itself. And we line up with the subject teacher whose lesson we are in at that point. So if I was teaching my English class and the fire alarm went off, I would take my English class, socially distanced, 2 meters apart, out the building, around to that first goals pitch, and I would then line that class up in alphabetical order with a 2 meter distance between everybody on that first goals pitch. It's important that you know that. You will have seen in the letter that Miss Collins sent home that in the addition to the behaviour that we expect of students, that there is a new emphasis on respect, responsibility and resilience. And it's important that you understand that we are expecting all of you to show a special kind of respect and take a special kind of responsibility with regards to COVID-19. It is a big risk for any school to reopen under the circumstances we have now. We need everybody to be doing their bit by behaving safely and following the guidelines that we have put down. So that is why there is the extra statement that's highlighted in yellow here that says that if you don't do what we're asking you to do, we will simply say to you, you aren't safe to be in the building. We'll call your parents and ask them to come and collect you, and then we won't let you back in the building. So you won't be able to come into lessons. But I have confidence, Year 12, that you're going to behave in a mature and grown-up way, and that won't be an issue for any of you. The other big thing that we're going to be able to do from Monday the 15th of June is start to have some live lessons happening via Google Hangouts. Now, we haven't been able to do those. You've seen lots of people using Zoom, no doubt, for all kinds of purposes, but we have not been able to do those kind of live interactive lessons via the internet until now for safeguarding reasons, because we have to keep you and your teachers safe. And we didn't think it was necessarily very safe to have teachers in their homes, students in their homes, having that kind of live interaction with one another. So we've waited until the building is reopened. So all members of staff are coming back into school 2 days a week. So they'll be on site twice during the week. And they have been told that when they're not teaching a lesson in front of students in a classroom, that they have the option to be able to deliver live lessons via Google Hangout. So what they will do is they'll make a decision what time of the day that they're in school works best for them, and they can then invite you to join a live lesson with them via Google Hangout. Now, the way Google Hangout works is that you get sent a link in an email. You click on the link and then it fires it up automatically, and then voila, your teacher is there in front of you. They will be in school. You will be at home for those lessons though. So there are some rules around those Google Hangout lessons. So teachers have to be in school to do them. They can't do them from their own home. You need to be appropriately dressed, so you don't just sit there in your pyjamas when you're on that lesson. You need to actually get dressed, and you need to be in a communal room in your house. You can't be in your bedroom. So you go to your kitchen, you go to your dining room, you go to a room in your house. You also need to make sure there's a plainish background behind you so that your teacher can see you, because remember, you might have 15 people in your class, therefore on your teacher's screen everybody is going to show up in a very small tile on their screen. The teacher needs to be able to identify you. They're not social experiences, so you're not to goon around, you're not to start sending one another Snapchat messages about what's going on in that lesson. You're there to learn. Otherwise, what's the point of joining the lesson? And teachers can only do those lessons if there's more than one of you there. They're not allowed to do a live lesson in that way with just one student. The teacher will record every lesson that they do, and they will keep them for 30 days, and that is a safeguarding issue. So we have to keep evidence of those live lessons that we've done, so that were there to be a problem, an accusation, a comment made about something that happened in a lesson, we could re-watch the lesson and we could determine exactly what had happened. So you get sent an email to your school email by your teacher inviting you to join a live Google Hangout lesson at a particular time on a particular day. All you then have to do is click on that link at the time that they've told you the live lesson will be happening. It will automatically fire up Google Hangout, which opens up your mic on your computer or your phone, and it opens up the camera on your computer or on your phone. And then there will be a button that will appear that says Join Meeting, and you click on that, and then your camera and microphone go live, and you will then see everybody else who's in that meeting, including your teacher, appearing on your screen. If you've got a particularly large class, your teacher might ask you to turn your mic off and then only turn it back on when they are asking you directly a question, or when you've put your hand up to say, I would like to ask a question. The easy way to turn your mic on and off is to hit Control-D, and that will turn it on and then turn it off again. So it's going to be strange, it's going to be different, but if we all work together on this, Year 12, we can make it a success. I'll look forward to seeing as many of you as possible next week.